Welcome, everyone, to the Rotary Club of Foster City. We are the club that cooks, and our secret sauce this week is wine. For all the wine that everybody has been having and tasting at the Summer Days Festival. For pledge, Noemi Avram. Oh, she's on.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. If you place your hand in your own hearts and repeat after me, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our sound went off.
You're the host.
I just saw that. That's odd, huh?
Yeah. He
Hi,
may
Craig.
be rebooting the camera for the speaker.
Right.
Here comes podium. It looks like it might come back.
Right. Nice catch.
I guess we missed the thought.
I'll give you one.
Life is good.
I have few of my own thoughts.
That's sort of what I was going to say.
Zoomers, please mute yourselves. Craig, if you can unmute and tell us, where were you born on this wonderful day?
Okay, I left my hearing devices in my bedroom. Could you repeat that?
So today's your birthday. Happy birthday. I was just asking, where were you born on this day?
Oh, I was born in Hancock, New York, about 2 hours north of New York City, northwest of New York City, and about 20 minutes from the Woodstock Music Festival location.
Okay, thank you. Happy birthday, Craig.
Thank you. It was
Marsha
yesterday, but thank you.
Lyle, August 25th. Happy birthday. What is your mom's favorite memory of the day that you were born, other than the pain and all that? Okay, so then it must have been a great, simple, easy birth then. Or there would have been lots of stories about it. So happy birthday, Marsha. Then Phil's wife, Lucy Romley, was born on this day. Also is Phil here too. So he's good. He's home celebrating with his wife. And anniversaries, we have Ollie and Mary's wedding anniversary, 57 years together. Wow. So Ollie can... Ollie, where did you get married?
San Francisco.
Okay.
Valley.
Okay. And how? Okay.
In church.
In church. Okay. And then we have Tracy and Anthony's wedding anniversary on August 25th, tomorrow. So Tracy, how did he propose to you? Do you want to share that? Any special memories from that day? No? Is it no special memory, or you don't want to share? Come on. Okay. Next is Jeff Rosen and Ronnie, 38 years together. Congratulations. And Rotary anniversary going on to that. Mary Bates, 17 years today, August 24th.
And Larry Shaw inducted me.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, next we move on to good news. Before we go to the good news, I just wanted to add that last week, no, the week before that, I had a new member come in, Mona Vimal. I don't know if you remember, she also volunteered then for the Summer Days Festival. And the thing she told me after that, she said, I really, really loved the good news and the happy bucks, because she said it was just so wonderful for people to share something positive and then donate in the honor of that positive thing. So I just want to say that that was something very well received by somebody who doesn't know anything about Rotary. So with that, no pressure. Anybody? Anybody has any good news to share? Tracy, yeah. He's coming with them. He's right here.
Thank you. So I was not at summer days because my older daughter came into Boise and we got to spend the weekend with her. And one of my twins had a softball tournament and played like she never played before. Home runs, probably did not get on base in 6 games one time. And just phenomenal defensive plays as well. So it was a really fun weekend and my daughter got to show off in front of her big sister. So
Yeah, wow, congratulations. Anybody else? Ollie?
Yes, yes. Good news, we discovered that our truck had a flat tire and in the yard, and called on Jamie, and he came over and repaired the
Can
tire.
any of you hear anything with the other microphone? It's only if they are at the podium, right?
Oh, no,
Correct.
no.
Can't hear a thing except for, and it's low at that.
They can't. Okay.
But
go ahead.
anyhow, we had a flat tire on our truck, we realized that, and Jamie came over, he loaded his truck up with his equipment. He came over, he repaired the tire, and I realized that I had a nail in one of my car tires, and he repaired both of them in the courtyard. Jamie, good job. I mean, thank you.
Thank you. If I knew that, I would have called you too. I was at Costco with a flat tire myself yesterday. So anybody else? Yes, Steve Okamoto.
Well, as you know, I wasn't here at last week's meeting. Some of you may have listened, but we were in New York at our son's wedding. So we're really happy about that. And also, many of you know I've been working on a project the past 10 years to create a memorial to the Japanese who were interned at camps. And this coming Saturday, August 27th at 1 p.m., we are doing a ribbon cutting ceremony and unveiling of a statue. So any of you who go to the shops at San Fran, and I know all of you shop there regularly, please take a look. It's right outside, right next to the San Bruno BART station.
Steve. Yeah, Steve, I heard they're redeveloping San Fran. Is that memorial going to be safe or is it going to be relocated?
No, it's on the other side.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes, Marsha?
my good news is that my daughter Laura is here from Colorado for 4 days, and the better news is she's going home at that time.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Let's go to visiting Rotarians. We will start with the, we will start over here right in the front, Jack. Jack, visiting Rotarians. Right here. Thank you, Jack.
The Rotary Club of Pacifica, Classification, Collection Management, retired, Steve Wright.
So we welcome Steve Wright, who is our Chief of Staff and the District Governor nominee. Welcome. Any other visiting Rotarians or guests? Okay. So I don't see Patricia Nutting, and she's there? Oh, okay. Just an update on your own leg. An update on your own leg. Okay, her leg is slowly.
Mine.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
But she can't move. I'll just announce that. So Patricia's leg is slowly healing.
Very slowly healing, because the surgeon on Friday, and I'm to do what I'm to do, but I'm gonna have to be real careful and keep it elevated.
Okay.
So Phyllis, pick me up, here I am with my big foot next to the forehead.
Thank you, Phyllis.
Anyway,
Thank you. Okay, so next we are going to do, we had a very popular lemons and oranges, and I actually quite enjoyed that. So we are going to do one more little table game, and I'm not going to fine you all, don't worry. So I just have this little treasure chest for all of you for the winning table. All that you have to do is discuss in the next 6 minutes one of your favorite childhood trip memories. Childhood trip, not now, not Mazatlan, okay, not polio vaccination, something else. You have to dig deeper, go to your childhood and something that was special from your childhood. And then you can pick one and one person can stand up and share that. Okay, so you have 6 minutes to enjoy your stories.
This is Gary. Are we joining in?
Sure, why not? What's your story, Gary?
Yeah, I was something like 11 growing up in San Diego. We went to Yosemite and we went to San Francisco and we went to wine country. My parents didn't drink. Again, I'm around 11. So we did wine tasting. It was all free back then, a long time ago when I was 11. Again, my parents didn't drink, so they passed all the wine to me. It was great. Thank you.
You can still remember that. Wow, that's impressive.
I sure did.
You could hold your booze even
Well,
then.
I started drinking at age 8. It wasn't that big a deal.
Okay, let's give everybody some time. Stan, can you remember anything from when you were a kid?
I can't remember anything from yesterday.
Of course, but probably from last century you can.
Right. When I was 5, 6, 7 years old, we were living in San Bruno. My father, who was a terrific bowler, he was in a league at the then Millbrae Bowl. So I would go with him. I'd watch him a little bit. He was shooting the 200s, 220s and such. But what he did, that was the memory, was he always gave me some nickels so I could go out into the play area and play the little bowling machine, like a pinball where you shoot at that. So I always tried to see if I could get a score as high as his. And that was a lot of fun. There were fun memories, and to talk about it after he finished and I finished. Thanks.
Nice.
Craig?
Yeah, we went on a family trip with my grandfather, who was a real curmudgeon, but he had a wife. His second wife was an outdoors woman. What an odd couple they were. And we went to, I was probably 6 years old. We went to Massachusetts, from Long Island, where I lived, to Massachusetts. They rented a house on this little lake, and you could actually see the perch, the fish. They had the red dorsal fins, and you could watch them take. They could watch them take your bait on your hook. She woke me up about 5 in the morning, and we would sneak out when everybody else was asleep. And I thought that was such a big deal, such a big deal. I asked my dad about it later. He said, "Oh, that place, that lake stunk. It was a dump." But I remember it vividly now.
I can't remember as a kid, but while I was a teenager, my dad was a journalist. He was a political editor of the Philadelphia Inquirer. And I remember he took me to Florida, to the Republican National Convention. And I actually saw Nixon speak in person. Actually incredible.
And
That was a long time ago.
Bob, was this one of your good, happy memories?
Good one.
Most memorable.
Oh, I see. It didn't have to be happy, right?
We're
Yeah,
not going to judge your memories, Bob. Don't worry.
That's right.
I had no judgment of him at the time, but
Mhm.
after he committed a number of crimes and was unfortunately pardoned, my political leanings became clear.
Noemi, you're up.
My best memories of when I was a kid was going every summer to, this is in Argentina, in the Atlantic Ocean. And we would drive like, I don't know, 10 hours and go to a sort of what I thought at the time that it was a resort. It's not. I've been in the past, I don't know, 20 years. It wasn't a resort. But as far as I was concerned, it felt like the best place in the world. And that's where I swam at night with my dad. I rode horses at the beach. I can go back, and I have a lot of pictures to help my memories, but yeah, great childhood memories.
So your resort and my lake are kind of similar.
Totally, yes.
Our memories are a lot fonder than they probably should have been.
Yes.
Oh, I do remember another memory now. We used to take Sunday drives, and we always listened to old time radio. So the Lone Ranger and the Shadow, remember, and Suspense. You guys remember those shows?
I've heard about them.
I think I saw one on YouTube once.
You saw it on YouTube. Good one.
And
Yeah, we're talking about radio programs.
what about you, Anne?
Oh, my fondest memories are my summers with my parents. My dad was a geologist. And so all summer long, he was out mapping different geological features. And we would just pile in the big Cherokee and sleeping bags, and we would head out into the middle of nowhere and camp and hike through amazing places. And I did not appreciate any of it. It was like, oh, I can't believe I have to do this. I have to leave all my friends and I have to be far, far away. And now it's like, I ended up going to the most amazing places, and my dad and my mom taught me so much about the outdoors.
Oh, yeah.
It's terrific how that happens. Our memories, I grew up in on Long Island. We used to have the most beautiful fall color. And it was like, yeah, who cares? I think I've taken my family back 4 different times back to New England to drive through all this fall color that I took for granted when I was a snot-nosed kid.
Yeah. Yeah, my dad mapped bear's ears. And now that map was so important in making that become part of the national park system.
Really?
Great.
Wow. Hey, Jeff.
Okay, so
Oops.
who wants to go first? Which table wants to go first? I think that one was laughing the most. So we're going to start with Rick Wyckoff's table. We have a visiting Rotarian from Dallas.
It sounds like a limerick.
Can't hear a thing.
There's the mic behind you. Thank you.
I guess we can keep our own meeting.
Sure.
We missed Jeff.
I know.
Is now a good time? Stan's heard this story with detail,
Oh,
but
this is a good one.
Doomers, can
Yeah.
you please mute yourself again? Thank you.
So
Huh.
my
Huh.
family from California on vacation in the summer to meet some cousins as well as to meet my mother's family, her college roommate's family at Lake Tahoe. We were happy to be up there. It was cold water swimming. We were really cold. But anyway, we came out of the cabin down to the beach at Lake Tahoe. We were the Johnson family from Dallas. We all had our twins.
She's frozen.
Family, my mother's roommate family all came out of the cabin after us with not a stitch of clothing on, nothing. And they all walked down the stairs. We were like, wow, this is really different out here in California. Anyway, that's my story, and it's all true.
Thank you. Yeah, Linda, your table? Rel, okay.
There's gonna be a theme in this. We had play practice, and after play practice, I had a new
What you doing?
1952 Dodge, and Sue Mort, who I didn't date, but was a friend of mine, came into the back seat of the car and asked me if I wanted a French kiss. And I had no clue. I said, well, what's a French kiss? And she proceeded to show me how.
Okay.
There's a grandma's shoe.
Okay. John Grant's table,
Thank you. See, this is a Rotary meeting.
give it to Diana. Yes, 1 minute or less
I'm gonna
each.
come up here for a
Thank you.
second. I'm gonna sit on my lap.
Back when I was a kid, we had weekend and summer road trips up to Northern California to visit every single lake. The favorite spot was Kanaktai. That was where I learned.
Come here,
to try to
Ellie.
swim. Oh,
Ellie, come here for a second.
yeah. The only memory that's really bad is my dad.
Ellie, come here for a second.
Had this thing about not stopping to use the restroom.
You don't want to see all these
It
people.
was called the bushes.
See these
Or you
people.
had to hold it. I'm
Flag.
sorry. And that was just one of those memories that my cousin and I would never forget.
Well, you may not believe this, but I'm old enough, I went to Woodstock,
Mm.
so there are stories there. But the other one that's even better is when I was 6 years old, I was on a naval ship for 2 weeks. My father is a naval officer, and we crossed the international date line, and they were ducking people in sand and doing all kinds of awful things. So I ran away and hid in the cabin because I didn't think that that was right.
Mm, okay. Steve Okamoto?
Well, unfortunately, I had a very safe and boring childhood, but I do remember one memory vividly. My family and I drove from, we lived in San Francisco at the time, down to Los Angeles, or actually to Anaheim. If you know what's in Anaheim. We were at the opening of Disneyland.
That is very nice. And Zoomers, does anyone on Zoom want to share 1 minute or less? Oh, they can't, yeah, but I'm talking now. So anyway, that's fine now. So what I'm going to give the award to is a story that I heard over here, which didn't get told, is John Grant. He was saying as a child, he kept asking for hamburgers on a trip. And I'm just saying a very, very short version of it. And his father said, don't ask for hamburgers again. So he said, okay, may I have a cheeseburger? So I'm going to give this time, everybody will get a turn, and please save your stories because we will do this again. The box is not for you, just have whatever goodies you want from this. So you'll all get your turns. Next, we have Jamie Cavanero over here. Thank you.
Okay, so we had quite a big weekend this past weekend at the Friday concert and the summer days. We had volunteers out there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It was quite impressive. If you weren't there Friday, you missed a doozy. I think at least since I've been a Rotarian, it's the most we brought in a concert event. So Friday night, we grossed $5,476 at the concert, $5,476, and we netted $47.75. So that's a bingo. Saturday, we just sold wine. And I think Shiraz did a great job with her relationship she's made with this Darcy Kent winery. So I'm hoping to continue that relationship somehow because everybody loved the wine. Not only the Rotarians, but the people buying it. So we sold $4,377 worth of wine. And after we paid the city and all the costs and everything, we netted, and by the way, the leftovers are being sold today. We netted a total of $27.73 in wine. And then Curtis and his volunteers ran the parking on Sunday at the Summer Days event. They brought in a total of $1,820. That gets split 50-50 with the city. So we netted $910 out of that. So on the weekend, we made just shy of $8,500, which is pretty good for a weekend's work. And I think we had something like 25 Rotarians roughly, and a few non-Rotarians, a couple spouses and some friends of Shiraz's that helped. So quite a big turnout. So very well done. Thank you.
Thank you to everyone who participated. And I know Friday night was like really all hands on deck and everybody was, you know, pushing, and we were pushing each other to move faster. And actually the lines were so long that I joked with somebody who was waiting for so long over there for her food. And I said, you know, we are really known for our very fast service. So, so they laughed and they gave us a $6 tip. So anyway, so next we have for vocational talk, Betty Taguchi. Will you please come up? Yeah. You want to remove it? Would you like to remove it?
No, leave it, but just tilt it down. How's that? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I hate coming to the meeting and you hear people are doing a great talk and you can't hear it. So I'm determined to get this right. So somehow I fade away, stick your hand up and I'll do it again. Anyway, I was asked to do a vocational talk. So usually I do totally ad lib, but today I wrote it down because it's easier for people to take notes. So it's a little stilted where usually I'm just carrying on. But anyway, in 1975, I was 30 years old and I found a new direction for my life. Before that, I had been a public school teacher and hated it. And then I worked for Hawaii Business Magazine and sold advertising, which I loved. But I saw an ad in the Honolulu Advertiser that said, men and women, do you want to be stockbrokers? And so they had a seminar. I went down and they told me I'd get paid to go to school for 3 months in New York City. I learned everything about the stock and bond market. And I thought, that's a terrific idea. And then also my dad had bought my sister and I 10 shares of Scripto pen and pencil stock. And when I was 10 years old, so every day my sister and I would look up our stock price. And once a year we get a dividend for $1.25. When you get a 25-cent allowance, that was pretty big money. So that's how I was interested. And then I jumped at the chance and I went to the seminar and I took the test. They called me back to take a test. And because I was selling ads for Hawaii Business Magazine, I knew all the managers of all the brokerage firms and all the construction companies. I knew the manager of Merrill Lynch and I didn't get hired. They called me back to take a test. I went and took the test and then they sent me a Dear Betty letter. So I was so sad, so upset. I called them back. I said, why didn't you hire me? He said, oh, you passed the test, but none of the women passed the interview. We all flunked the interview. And there was 4 of us who were well-spoken, I can say. And we had some 21-year-old kid from New York City who decided we weren't fit. So I went down straight. I was so mad in Hawaii, small place. I walked down to the EEOC office and filed a complaint and forgot about it. I just said the heck with it. But then I was ready to try everybody. So I finally ended up with Dean Witter because it's the best, oldest firm in Honolulu. And the guy who hired me was a true sexist, which I love because he was quite open about it. He said, why would I hire you? You're just going to have children and they would just waste all our money training you. I said, well, first of all, I always lied. I said, my mother did work. I said, well, I was raised by a nanny, so I know how to do that. It wasn't called a nanny, it was called a babysitter. But anyway, so they hired me. I was the first woman broker. They sent me to San Francisco for 3 months. Because in 1975, they changed the test to be a broker. They made it harder. So Dean Witter paid for all of us to come to San Francisco, study for the test for 3 months, and then take it. And in the class, there were 100 men and 4 women. So you know what happened there. The dynamics, as I always say, couple of things about men. One, they go, oh, we have women here. We can't tell dirty jokes. No, you can tell all the jokes you want. The women laugh more than they did. And then they give little talks like, what happens if you get a lot of money, you get involved with women and booze. So I renamed it to Studs and Suds. And just to make it more fun. And so anyway, I went to the training and Roger always supported me. I went back to Honolulu and loved Dean Witter, but I didn't have any finance background. I was an elementary education major and Roger had the GI Bill. So we decided to go back to school and I took every course I could take in finance and he got his degree in hotel restaurant management. When we were at the University of Massachusetts, he worked for Saga Foods, whose headquarters is in Menlo Park. So they hired Roger to work in Pacific Telephone in San Francisco. And then I went back to Dean Witter in Honolulu in San Francisco. They went, oh, we have an opening in Menlo Park. So we ended up in Menlo Park. I didn't even know where it was. I had a map and I drove down the peninsula. I said to Roger, they have more beauty parlors than I've ever seen. They have more expensive cars than I've ever seen. And I think that's where we're going to live. So we did. And so we lived there for 35 years. We actually came to Foster City first, but then we went back. So when I was in training, when I came back to Honolulu, my manager, who was named Paul Liu, was a wonderful man. And he had seminars where we would give a talk to prospective investors. So for me, he arranged for me to talk to women investors, which I was fine with. And I gave what I thought was a magnificent speech on the markets. And the women in the audience turning went, Betty, I don't even know how to look up your quotes. I don't even know anything about the market. So that was how I started how to read the Wall Street Journal like a pro class. So once a week at lunchtime, I would have a class and I teach these women how to look up the stock price, how to look at the Wall Street Journal, read the center column first, read the right-hand column on the right. And that's how I started acquiring clients. In those days, you cold call. So every day you come in and you call 100 people and you get 3 to 4 clients. And the interesting part about cold calling, they tell all of us, we all call, but you find 3 or 4 people that are just like you. So in the end, you have a whole book of people who are just like me, all liberals, all decision makers, all loud women. And so bossy women. So it's just been a great career. And then when I came to Menlo Park, there was a group called American Association of University Women that had 500 members in Menlo Park and Atherton. And so they supported me. I gave my classes to them. They were all widows or divorcees, and they were women decision makers. And so that's how I really built my book. And meanwhile, because of Rotary and taking women now, AAUW is down to like a dozen members, because in those days I couldn't join anything else. I could only be in Seroptimus or American Association of University Women. But once I could be a Rotarian, then I could join, and that's a whole different level of networking. I'll tell one story about that. When I was always very ambitious, and I used to buy tapes. Should you join Lions, Rotarians, or Kiwanis? And the tape that I bought said, Kiwanis and Lions run it, Rotarians own it. So I went, okay, that's the one. And the very first meeting I went to in Palo Alto, I sat next to someone who owned half of downtown Palo Alto. I thought, this is the right group. And he was also very nice to me and supported me too. So, and then 1993, Roger joined me. I was doing very well and I needed help. So Roger joined me. We were at Prudential. They gave us our own office. They custom built it for us. We sat next to each other for 20 years. And people would come in and say, I say to them, you can talk to Roger, you can talk to me, you can talk to either one of us. We have no ego. And the reason we were together is you didn't have to talk to us twice. When you came in and we interviewed you the first time, you tell us both your story. And then when you called in, we knew who you were. So we did that for 20 years, and people would come in all the time and go, you work with your wife all day long? And we go, yeah, we do, it works. So it worked out great. And then in 2009, our son joined us, and today he took over our business. You know how it is, before you start, you're worried. Yeah, okay. Anyway, what I like about being a woman broker and Roger being a financial advisor is you only have, the market closes at 1 o'clock. So after 1 o'clock, you can go to school. Roger was involved with the wrestling team and the lacrosse team. I was involved with tutoring a lot. And so it's a very flexible location. And you can also tailor it to whatever you want, because you make your own hours. Nobody comes into your office and asks what you're doing. You just do what you think is the right thing to do. And So I just want to make a few remarks. Being a woman in the business, you have to say a few things. So one of my favorite remarks is, how do you clean your house? When I first started, a guy said, well, how do you clean your house if you're working here? I said, well, I do that on Saturdays. It's okay. And then another guy said, it used to be great, like I said, before we had women here. I'm like, don't we have secretaries in this office? Aren't there women in this room? But they're like, well, they don't count, just we count. And my favorite, meanest one was a woman said to me, when do you spend time with your children? And so that's like, when you're a working woman, there's certain people who just like to stab you. Teresa's nodding her head. You've been there. So anyway, but all in all, it's been a great career. I get to spend time with Roger, I get to spend time with my son. I got to be really involved with the high school, got involved with Rotary. And so everything I did has been a great time in my life. It's been a good life. And now I'm retired and get to travel with Roger. So it's all good. I'll say one more. I can shut up, but I'll tell you one other thing. We had a client, her name was Betty, and she was on her third husband. She outlived them all. So I said, Betty, how do you do it? She said, oh, my first husband gave me my children, 2 sons like me. My second husband gave me my money. And my third husband is my cruise companion. So when people ask me, I tell people, my Roger's my third husband.
Has Roger ever been asked, how is he going to clean his house?
No.
Oh.
Thank you. Thank you, Betty. Another strong woman. Glad to have you here with us. Thank you, Betty. Next, we have our vocational service chair, Teresa. Will you please come up?
Thank you, President Ross. Just an update on Rotary Means Business. We have our flyer out and it is posted on social media. It's on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Nextdoor. So we're already getting folks reserving spots, so please do so as well. We have limited space and it's about 40 people total, so we want to manage those numbers. So please sign up. We'd love to have you. And Mary Bates, if you come up, we have an award today. And this is a little different. Usually we have Employee of the Month. But today we have Employer of the Month. And we are giving the award to Pat Kelly, who is the owner of Plaza Gourmet. If you guys have had an opportunity to have his delicious sandwiches and food there. It's next to Lucky's. He has been in business for, gosh,
3 decades.
3 decades. And he has also furnished lunch for many of our Rotary events. And he could not be here today because he is busy working. It's lunchtime. So he could not get away. Mary and I are going to go over there, present the award, the award to him and take some pictures that we'll share, but.
Short and kind. Okay. Yeah, many of you know Pat. He's the scruffy guy behind the scenes, but he's pretty amazing and very giving. He was the one that really helped us with the Foster City Village meals and had the lowest cost. It was like $13 for individual meals. He's very giving and works with his daughter to make like cookies and those kind of things and brownies, but just know that he's hands-on, support him if you can. And he's always been just very supportive over the last 25 years that I've known him. So say something if you go in. So thank you so much. And we'll present it to him.
Thank you very much. Last announcement, Curtis Chen, past president.
Yeah, I just wanted to let everybody know the foundation board met a couple weeks to appoint some new members to our endowment board. And we had 6 candidates for 3 open seats. And the foundation board appointed Rel Kempf for a 3-year term, Linda Grant for a 3-year term, and Noemi Avram for a 1-year term. That is the completion of Deborah Wilder's 3-year term. And then currently on the board is Steve Okamoto. I think you're on your last year of your 3-year term. And then as the immediate past president, I'm also on the endowment board. So just want to let everybody know.
Thank you, Curtis. Congratulations to the new board, endowment board. And now we have past District Governor John Grant. Will you please come up here to introduce the speaker? Thanks.
I asked a few friends to help research our speaker today, and their pictures are appearing here. I'm not real adept at the computer. I seem to miss every 9th letter. Inside joke. I'll continue. So Rosie and Bella helped. I'm sorry. Want me to start over?
Yeah.
Our beloved cats, Spot, Bob, and Tony, all came from the Peninsula Humane Society, and I'm sure were given guidance after using up their 9 lives. It's a great pleasure to introduce a fellow Rotarian and pet lover as our speaker today. Anthony Tansamore took over as president of the Peninsula Humane Society in 2021. He grew up in rural Virginia and spent his childhood around abandoned cats and dogs that his father took care of. He was a member of the 4-H in high school and junior high, and as an adult, served for 2 years as the board chair for the National 4-H Council. Anthony earned a bachelor's degree from Colorado College in 1982, where I graduated from high school, Colorado Springs, and a law degree from Wake Forest University in 1989. He worked as assistant to 2 Colorado representatives and held leadership roles in several nonprofits. A recent role was as founder and management director of Blue Ridge Advisors, a national search and leadership consulting firm. Anthony obviously feels the need to be challenged, and that is why he sought the role as leader of the Peninsula Humane Society when Ken White retired. Anthony feels that animal adoption saves lives. During the pandemic, adoptions skyrocketed. Please give a warm Rotary welcome to President of the Peninsula Humane Society, Anthony Tansamore. You want to hold this or put it in? Okay.
Well, hello, everybody. It's very nice to be with you. I don't know what I'm doing here. Oh, okay. I grew up in a time when you didn't use computers, so I still use paper. I produce lots and lots and lots of paper, which the staff don't like.
This one?
Yeah. Great, thank you. Oh, great. Good, thanks. And I saw that I'm a new member of the San Mateo Rotary, and I was looking at your schedule of speakers coming up, and I saw that Tom Huning, one of our members at San Mateo, is going to be here in October. He spoke to us about his new book a couple months ago, and I think you'll enjoy his talk and conversation. I thought what I would do today is just sort of talk a little bit about myself, and then talk about who we are as an organization, and then talk about how we've fared during COVID. As John said, I grew up in rural Virginia, and I grew up with a crazy father who adopted every animal, every kind of animal that there was in rural Virginia, which drove my mother crazy. But I grew up with a love for all kinds of animals as well. And so I went off to Colorado to college and went to law school, and I had a very fine professional career. When in 2020, I got a call asking me if I'd be interested in being president of the Peninsula Humane Society. I said, you got to be out of your crazy, out of your mind. I don't come from the animal welfare field. I was trained as a lawyer. I've been a consultant, an advisor to CEOs, and an advisor to boards. I don't know anything about animals other than having them as pets. So I was told, think about it and then get back to us. So after a couple of weeks, I called the board chair back and said, I think I would like to go through this process, knowing there's no way in hell they'll choose me as president. There's got to be somebody with far more experience in this field than me. And I went through the interview process and got the offer. So I actually was elated, and I spent my first year doing the work of the staff. And I told the staff that I wanted to understand what the organization was all about. So I shoveled poo out of the dog kennels. I cleaned the rabbit cages while the staff were standing there laughing, thinking, you're not doing it right. But I that gave me a real good ground floor sense of what this organization was all about. So I put a picture here of my boss. This is Zoe, my little poodle mix, whom I adopted soon after I arrived at Peninsula Humane Society. She actually adopted me. One of the staff told me that there's a new dog that had just come in the kennel. I went to see her and I said, well, I'll take her back to the office. And we got a bed and we got a blanket for her. And I tried to get her to get in the bed. I sat down in my chair and she jumped in my lap. And I said, that's the end of it for me. I'm lost. Peninsula Humane, how do we advance this?
Slideshow and review.
We were started in 1950 by San Mateo concerned citizens who were concerned about the stray animals roaming the streets in San Mateo. And it has grown since 1950 into a very large organization, but volunteers are still core to our organization. Maybe you should stay here.
Sorry, okay, yeah. Okay.
Slideshow under the word viewing.
Yes, that's where I am, yeah. And create, sign in, create PDF, okay. This is where I wear glasses and I still can, okay. I don't see slideshow here. Slide sorter, reading view.
Right here, hit that.
Okay. Oh, there it is.
And then from beginning?
From current slide.
Yeah, and then you can
Okay.
just hit that one.
So, thank you.
This one, okay. Thank you. And we serve the entire county. And now, one of the things I encounter quite a bit is, when I'm out in the community, someone will say, well, I sent you some money, but I didn't hear back. I didn't get an acknowledgement. And I'll ask the staff to look up the person's name and they're not in our directory. And what often happens is that people give to the national organizations and they think I've given to PHS, but those organizations come into the community to raise money, but they do not spend money in this community. They spend it elsewhere and on national ads. So whatever money we raise in this community, it's spent in the community saving animals. Which, okay. I told you should stay right here for us. I'll never use PowerPoint again. We've got 3 locations, Coyote Point, which is right off Highway 101 and Peninsula Avenue. It's a 3-year-old building that is owned by the county. That's where our animal control, spay and neuter services are run from.
and I spend 1 day a week there with staff and 4 days a week at our Lantos Center on Rollins Road in Burlingame. And that was totally funded by donations. And that is where we run our education adoption center and training. And then I'm really fond of Pick of the Litter, which is on Chula Vista Street, right off of Broadway in downtown Burlingame. That's our resale shop, and it does quite well. So if you're looking for Christmas gifts, that is the place to go. We are, I don't know if you've heard the term open admission shelter. That means we turn no animal away. There are a number of organizations, a number of shelters around the country that call themselves no kill, and they get to be no kill because they turn lots of animals away. They only accept healthy animals, and we take all animals, regardless of their health or their behavior. And we don't euthanize for space. Other shelters do that. Our goal is to rehabilitate animals so that they can be adopted out into the community. We have all kinds of animals, as you can imagine. And I don't know why people would want to have a rat as a pet, or a mouse, but there are people who love rats. One of my staff brings her pet rat to work, and I do not go into her office.
Cats mind the pet, right?
We try to keep them away from each other. And we have adoption fees that vary by species and size and age of animal, but we offer all kinds of services, as you'll see here in a second. As I said, we have the contract with the County of San Mateo to run animal control, rescue and control services out of Coyote Point. And we have about 60 staff who are housed at Coyote Point. And we have a number of rescue officers who go all around the county rescuing animals. They pick up animals that have been abandoned, stray animals. They pick up animals that have been abused, and they bring them to the shelter. And most of them, they're either returned to their owner, or we transfer them to another shelter, or we try to rehabilitate them in some way so that they can be adopted out. And we also enforce the laws. We have laws on the books that protect animals, and we issue a number of citations to people who flout the laws. And we're in the course of working with the county and updating the local law. So these are the services that we offer to pet owners. You can come in and ask for your pet to be microchipped or get a license. We have a vaccination clinic that we offer 3 times a month, and by appointment only. Our spay and neuter clinic, it's open every day and it's always packed. Before we went to an appointment basis, it was walk-in only, and people waited literally months before they could get in. And then we have a spay and a mobile van that offers spay and neuter services, which is free to people who access those services. We go into communities around the county that are low-income communities where people don't have the ability to come to us, and they aren't able to pay the fees. So we go out about once a month. We also have a wildlife center at the Lantos Center, and it is, as we say, we know it's one of the few humane societies in the country that has its own wildlife center. It's a small center on the 2nd floor, but they rehabilitate and release and treat thousands of wildlife throughout the year. As on the way over here, one of the wildlife officers was bringing in a goose that he picked up from Foster City that had been injured. So I said, I've got to tell that to the Foster City Rotary. Right. I'm really proud of our education programs. We have staff who go out to schools and make presentations. We bring school kids in to tour the shelter and to learn about the animals. We offer tours to adults, and we also offer pet loss support group. Once a month, we have a facilitated session for people who are grieving the loss of their pet. And we have quite a number in the current group, and it's a free service that we offer to people who need some help dealing with the loss. And I learned, one of the things I learned when I came to PHS is that there are lots of feral cats in our community. They're called colonies, and they're colony caretakers, little old ladies who go out and feed dozens and dozens of cats. And we have relationships with these caretakers, and we offer space in our spay and neuter clinic for them to bring the cats in to be spayed or neutered at a reduced cost. And my favorite thing is animal camp. We ran this past summer 7 weeks of camp for young kids. We brought them into the shelter, and we had staff and volunteers bring the animals in. The kids got to hold a snake, they got to hold hamsters, they got to terrorize the cats. It's really fun for them. It's a great start. Many of them come back as volunteers as they get older. We're also involved in the county emergency disaster preparedness effort. And so this is a picture of one of 3 vans or trailers that we equip with emergency equipment. And we have staff and volunteers who are trained and stand at the ready when there's an emergency. So we're really proud of being able to assist the county in those efforts. And other services, euthanasia, if you need to put your animal to sleep, we will do that for you. The Safe Pets program, that is for people who are suffering or undergoing domestic abuse. And we found that many people don't want to leave home and leave their pet. And so we will house the pet for 30 days until the person can get situated. And then we offer continuing care for people who want to take care of their animal or have their animal taken care of after they've passed away. So they can leave instructions for us to take care of the animal until we can find a loving home for that animal, or take care of it until it can go to a family member who's able to take care of the animal. And we send staff out. You know, I believe that I shouldn't be the only spokesperson for the organization. I love for staff to go and talk about the work that we do as well. And as I said, we also offer group tours. I love having groups come in. And I'm trying to schedule some Rotary meetings at PHS as well. As I said, volunteers are the foundation of the organization, have always been. We've got about 1,200 volunteers. We're always looking for volunteers, and we have quite a number of positions open, including seasonal positions for college students, high school students. And we also have a program where people who need to do some community service because they've committed an infraction. I won't say crime, but an infraction, and they have to do court-ordered service. We will make arrangements for them to do that time with us. So here, I wanted to share some highlights of the last year. So we had over 11,000 calls for a variety of reasons, including not just calls about sick and injured animals, but stray animals, animal rescues, also humane investigations. Our humane investigations team of 2 people received 1,600 calls. And they had conducted 500 investigations and then referred a half a dozen or so to the district attorney for prosecution. Almost 5,000 came into the shelter last year, and 3,400 or so were adopted. And we did this with our volunteers who spent about 3,000 hours with us. So how did COVID impact us? I mean, my predecessor said, I'm so sorry for you starting in January of 2021. It's the worst time to start in the middle of COVID. It was a learning experience for us all. And what we saw was an increase in adoptions. Every shelter in the country, I think, experienced an increase. Everybody was at home and they needed a pet or wanted a pet to be their companion through this horrible pandemic. We also saw people wanting to volunteer. So our applications increased dramatically, and people wanted it to help. So they brought all kinds of materials, newspapers, blankets, beds, things that we always need and can use, as well as made financial contributions. And we really appreciate that support. Like every other employer that I know of, we also experienced a high degree of staff turnover. We tend to hire for entry-level positions, younger, inexperienced people so that we can train them. But we saw a lot of churn, and so we were constantly hiring and replacing people. Some of the operational issues that we experienced, adaptations. We closed the shelter for a while, and when we opened up, and we were one of the first to open back up, we were available by appointment only. One of my colleagues was telling me, met with her about a month or so ago, they were just opening up this month. And I thought, that's just incredible that we were on the front line of bringing people back. We shifted our staff schedules, as our staff shrunk, we placed a greater burden on the staff. And so we were mindful of, taking care of the staff and making sure that our schedules were adaptable so they could take care of what they needed to at home. And yet we were able to continue to meet our obligations as well. Our recruitment process before COVID was open to anybody who wanted to volunteer, and we got clear about where we needed volunteers. And so we started to recruit for specific jobs that we needed filled. A lot of people want to do one thing, but it may not, like everybody wants to walk dogs. But that's not the main thing that we need. We need people who are able to go in and clean the kennels, or sit with the cats, or feed the kittens. And so we had a number of volunteers shift, and we had new volunteers come in with specific experience who could fill those needs. In online events, everybody went to online events, and that was hell for a lot of people, because everybody did everything on Zoom, and you can't hear anybody, you can't see anybody. It's very hard to communicate. We found it very challenging to do some of our public events by Zoom. And our spay and neuter services, interestingly, we kept our spay and neuter services going while other shelters did not. They shut down their spay and neuter services. So we're the only shelter in the Bay Area that offered those services. And we had people coming from all around the Bay Area to access them. And we started a pet food bank. So amongst the many things that we received in donations were lots of pet food donations. And so we said, well, let's have a pet food bank at pick of the litter. We're serving currently, we were at the high, we were serving 200, we're serving 185 pets now, and we are continuing that service. So what are we seeing now that we are, we've adapted and we're trying to navigate our way through? One of the things that we were most concerned about when I started was, and this is what I was hearing from other shelters around the country, is that we're going to see tons and tons of returns of animals. We haven't seen that in this community. We've seen very, very few. But what we have seen, which is also a good thing, is people want training. You know, our goal is to ensure that all the animals, once they're adopted, stay in the community, they stay at home. And so the pet owners are coming in and signing up for training, and we've doubled our training staff to meet the demand. Our donations are still robust. That's how we're able to continue the food bank. And people are still writing checks to us, which we're incredibly thankful for. We're moving to in-person events. We had one today, a group meeting in the office, and we were glad to see people in person. And we're planning actually to bring our annual gala back here to Crowne Plaza in November. We're also seeing slower staff turnover, thankfully. We made some adjustments in our salary ranges, and we promoted people who had been there for a long time and who'd been successful in their roles. So that's encouraged people to see that there could be some opportunities at PHS if they stayed. The demand for animals is still very high in this community, but what we're seeing is that, what we're experiencing is that we right now we have a large number of Huskies and German Shepherds, and people want smaller dogs. And so the Huskies and German Shepherds will be adopted out, but it will take some time to do that. So that's what I have to share with you, and I appreciate the opportunity. Any questions? Yes. Yes. Well, you know, they were either transferred or we had to euthanize some. And it's, you know, I'm not shy about saying that there are sometimes cases where the animals can't be rehabilitated because of health or age or behavior. We have to euthanize. Yes.
I watched with some interest how the python has devastated the Everglades. What do you do when you get an invasive pet or return into the shelter? You can't send it back out. What do you do with an invasive species that you don't want to get into our ecosystem?
Thankfully, we don't have pythons in this community. We haven't seen, we don't have that kind of thing. Yeah. We have tons, yeah, you have, geese are your stray invasive. Here. The feral cats, they're twice a year produce tons and tons of kittens. And we bring them in to the shelter and we raise them until they're adoptable. So that's the closest thing that can come to that. We haven't seen anything like what they're seeing in Florida with the pythons.
Any idea why more large dogs are coming in now?
Well, I'll say two things. One is that these things sort of go in waves. A few years ago, we had an abundance of Chihuahuas. Some years before that, because of we think because of the TV show Frasier, we saw Jack Russells. So what I'm hearing, and this is everywhere in the country, almost every shelter that I know of has an abundance of Huskies shepherds. TV shows, Game of Thrones, people see these animals on television or they see YouTube videos and they say, what a great animal. I like watching huskies on YouTube as well, but I wouldn't adopt one because they need a lot of space and they need a lot of attention and they are expensive to maintain. So we think it's whatever's happening in the culture, TV shows, people want that animal. They want that dog. But when they adopt the dog and have to live with it, they find out how difficult it is to be with. Yes.
Yeah, Anthony, real quick, I just want to thank you for your staff, especially Caitlin. She did a virtual tour for our Foster City Village older adults during the pandemic, and it was really well done. And I hope that we can come back now that it sounds like it's open, but just give her another pat on the back because it was amazing to have our virtual tour via Zoom. Very unusual, but it was well received.
Thank you. Thanks. I like hearing that. Thank you.
Yeah, SFSPCA and Macy's has had a very successful wintertime program. And I've always enjoyed doing that. Have you thought about doing something like down the peninsula here?
I'm not aware of what they're doing.
Well, for years, Macy's has worked with the SFPCA and donated window space for mostly kittens and puppies. And it's drawn hundreds of people to look at these decorated holiday windows, which also brings people into the store, of course, but they're all up for adoption. And it's been a very successful program.
We believe because of the way we're designed, I don't know if you've been to the Lanto Center at all, but we want people to come into the shelter. I know another shelter that does that, a similar thing. They have a storefront in the mall. But we want them to come into the shelter. Animals undergo stress when they're in different situations. And so you put them in a window where people are walking by, because we even experience it at Lantos, and we're looking at putting in frosted glass so that the dogs aren't disturbed. But when they see constant activity in front of them, it puts them on a lot of stress. So,
Makes sense. I know they've been doing it since I was a child.
yeah, I understand.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you.
Wait. So thank you very much. That was super informative, and thank you for accepting my invitation and coming and speaking. I really wanted you to come and I learned a lot. I mean, so thank you. And here is our speaker gift, which is the speaker gift is basically in your honor. We are donating to the Polio Plus program. You are a Rotarian yourself, so you are aware of the Polio Plus program. Yes. So we make this donation in honor of you. And then, it's matched by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Yes. So it doubles that money. And the other one over here, the other picture is our flagship program, which over there, Greg Cool manages it with the San Mateo High School kids. We do the playground, with the old playgrounds, we take them out with the kids, and then we take it to the UROC Nation. And we reinstall, we refurbish, paint, make it good, and then we reinstall it over there. So that's
thank you so much.
You're most welcome. Thank you for coming. Thank you. This one. So with that, I want to first thank each and every one of you for your participation. I mean, the little game I do and I give chocolates is just for participation. And I think all of you, even though your stories were not told today, thank you for sharing them. That's the main thing that we are here for, is building that spirit, the team spirit. And then also Betty for sharing your wonderful story and your strength and courage. To Tracy, who just stepped up and did the slideshow. Thank you. Okay. And with that, we thank the greeter, Marcia. Thank you very much for your fist bumps. Pledge, Noemi Avram. Thought of the day, Rick Wyckoff. Minutes, Mary Bates, thank you for coming here. Tech Table, Jamie Cavanero, though I see him managing it remotely from there. Great job. And Curtis Chen. Treasurer, Larry Kavanoki, and Sergeant at Arms, Ed Groy and Jack Petrowski. And with that, I will see your wonderful faces next week. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.